Welcome back to Telltale Books. This video I want to talk about a very popular, fairly recent book, part of a series which has been extremely popular. And that is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I probably never would have thought twice about this book, having seen ads or seen videos talking about it. It's not the sort of thing that I usually would read. It's very popular. It's a bestseller. It's not great literature. We're not talking great literature here. And we're not talking about science fiction. So I probably just would have ignored it. It's my friend Samantha. She is very deeply interested and very deeply a fan of anything Sarah J. Maas writes, but especially this series. And she's the one that got me to read these books, starting with A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I read, Emily read. We reviewed it here. We both loved it, even though it wasn't what we normally would read. Court of Mist and Fury continues that. I read it because of Samantha, not because this is something I would normally pick up off the shelves. But it's a really good example of how trying out a book or a story that you normally wouldn't read may bring rewards. I mean, the majority of the time, picking up something that you wouldn't normally read is just going to solidify your opinions that it's not that great and that you don't want to read that type of literature. But that's only because of Sturgeon's law. 90% of everything is crap. So it's very easy to stumble onto one of the really bad ones and get turned off to a whole type of story just because you read one of the bad ones, and you never find the gems that are hidden in that particular genre or trope or whatever. So you do need to experiment, and yeah, you're going to have a lot of failed experiments, but there's good stuff out there. You got to dig for it, and you have to step outside of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you'll never grow as a reader. Maybe that doesn't bother you. I mean, read what you want to read, definitely. Don't just read this book because I say it's great. Read it because you have a curiosity of it and want to give it a try, and genuinely you want to give it a try. And if you read it and hate it, that's it, But I tried this and I enjoyed it. Now, Court of Mist and Fury, Book 2, and, essentially a trilogy, but with 2 follow-up books. So 5 books in what they call the ACOTAR, or A Court of Thorns and Roses series. The story, in a lot of ways, is just more of A Court of Thorns and Roses, and emphasizing those parts of A Court of Thorns and Roses that could have gone further, which readers loved, but Sarah Maas didn't take it as far as she could have in the first book. In the second book, she pulls out all stops. You may have heard that there's a lot of sex in this book. There is some sex. There's 2 specific chapters that get pretty explicit. So if you're troubled with stuff like that, this book isn't for you. But it's only 2 chapters in a huge, huge book. This is 624 pages long. And so there's only maybe 50 pages of sex in it. The rest of it is fantasy adventure. And while it's not brilliant writing, it doesn't have that kind of poetry to the writing that I have talked about in Bradbury and Poe and Lovecraft and William Hope Hodgson. It's pretty straightforward. The writing is like how normal people today talk, and that's probably part of what connects it to its fan base, is the fact that it isn't like reading Shakespeare. It's pretty straightforward and modern, and something that today's young women can see themselves in this world to a certain extent. It's in many ways repeating the formula of A Court of Thorns and Roses. Court of Thorns and Roses. But with that difference that it takes it farther, and the book is longer, there's more to it, it goes deeper, there's more to the characters, it's just more of everything that was good in A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's all here, but even more, a lot more, which makes it a very good book too. Really, you could criticize it for having too much of the same basic structure, overall structure, as A Court of Thorns and Roses, but that's not really being fair to the book. To me it's almost like Sarah Maas took her inspiration for A Court of Thorns and Roses from Beauty and the Beast, which we all know she did. It's a retelling of the story. She took her inspiration and she rewrote Beauty and the Beast. But after she wrote and published A Court of Thorns and Roses, this is me imagining, I imagine she may have sat back and really thought about A Court of Thorns and Roses, and realizes that she was sticking too much to the old fairy tale and didn't really write the book she wanted to write. So in writing the sequel, which does actually continue the story forward, but has that parallel structure overall, it's like she takes it to the next level and makes it her own. So it's no longer Beauty and the Beast. It's very different and kind of original. Sarah J. Maas delivers in this book everything that her fans want, and heightens all of it. She delivers the adventure. She delivers escapism. She delivers romance. She delivers political story. She delivers hot sex, which is all the things her readers want in a book. The book is decadent. It's indulgent, but in what I call a safe and fun way. You can indulge in these secret escapist fantasies within the works of a book and a fiction book, and then go back to your dull real life. So as I believe I talked about a lot with the first book, Court of Thorns and Roses, this book isn't high literature. It never will be high literature. Sarah Maas probably will never write a work of high literature. Who knows? Maybe one day. But what I'm seeing now, she's not there. She's not capable. But what she is delivering is a fun experience, an interesting experience, a powerful experience, one that does sweep you off into this fantasy world that you have fun in and really enjoy. There's some good imagination in here. And it's just fun. You know, like I keep comparing Star Wars. Star Wars is not great literature, but Star Wars is damn good fun. And that's what this is, damn good fun. It's that book that people enjoy because it's a lot of fun, not because it's something they're supposed to be reading. You know, you're supposed to read Diary of Anne Frank in order to get this lesson about the Holocaust and how bad it is to treat people that way. But you read fantasies and space operas because even though they don't have a message, they're just enjoyment. They're pure, solid enjoyment, and very good enjoyment at that. So for that reason, I got to give this a top tail. No, not because it really should be set alongside the Divine Comedy or the Iliad and the Odyssey or Tess of the D'Urbervilles or even War of the Worlds for that matter. But because it's just a lot of fun and a lot of people find it to be fun. Huge numbers of people just get so much enjoyment from it. It has captivated them and really changed the lives of a lot of young women who just need that in their life. And there's a place for that. We should have that. We need to have that. There's a place for this kind of literature. It's the bubblegum pop of fantasy, but you know, with a tune that's way too infectious. But you end up humming that tune ahead of Beethoven's Fifth because it's just so much more fun and light and easy. So my copy of this and well, all the copies I've been getting are the current Bloomsbury editions with cover that as a graphic designer I love. I think it's really, really, really excellent. I like this better than the original editions that had kind of cartoony figures on the cover. Samantha prefers those original covers. I don't. I like these. And you know, these are what you'll buy new today if you get them. The paperbacks are very similar but slightly different handling of the colors. So yes, it's a top tail. I recommend it. And I hope you'll understand why. And come back and watch more of our videos. Leave comments about it if you've read it, if you haven't read it. Leave me comments telling your side of this story. And come back and watch more. Like us, subscribe. Check us out on social media, Instagram and Facebook. And we'll see you in the next video.